Hey, how's it going, everybody? Gabriel, Santiago here. This is a Speaking of Harmony podcast, and this is episode 42. Before we go into today's subject, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the little bell thing notifications. This is all my social media stuff. And don't forget to hit the like button, it helps a lot with the video. And also don't forget to subscribe to the mailing list. Here's the information in the video description. All right, we're kind of continuing this series of talking about the bass, right? The bass line and sort of the role of the bass voice, right? And we did talk a little bit in past episodes about having a more active bass line, right? And we also did talk a little bit about bass pedals, right? The pedaling the bass, meaning a great asset to have when you want to increase tension and kind of like have a contrasting either section or a moment or whatever in the scheme of things or the progression, right? You can also achieve all that using pedaling the bass voice. Today, I'd love to share also the possibility of not using the bass at all, right? So we're kind of talking about the bass, but actually we're not going to talk about the bass, right? Of using a bassless kind of texture, right? Which is very useful also and very nice. I use that a lot as well. So how do you do? What do you do without playing the bass, right? What can you do? There are different scenarios that we can look into on kind of applications to use bassless textures, right? We're going to be talking about specifically about a few of those. There's so many, but we're going to kind of focus on a few. The very first thing that I would say is that, okay, when you're playing solo guitar, like I'm doing these episodes most of the time, like we are playing the bass and, kind of making a full chord, right? Right? And then within that texture, you can move the bass and do all the stuff and pedals and all the stuff we talked about. But let's say if you play in a trio situation, like when you have drums and acoustic bass or electric bass or whatever, right? So instantly your guitar has to adapt, has to fulfill a different role, right? Because you kind of like fitting many hats when you're playing by yourself. But when you have rhythmic session, like when you have a drum, when you have drums and also the bass, you have to change your way of playing a little bit. So how do you do that? Like when you have a bass, let's say, I'm not gonna be playing the bass most of the times, unless it's a line that we have to be like doubling and stuff. But I'm gonna avoid playing the bass because there's already a bass playing that bass voice, right? So instantly, your approach should be a little different, meaning you can start sort of eliminating the bass, right? Let's say if I'm playing just a regular, bossa nova kind of pattern, like a progression, like a... Right? I'm playing by myself. Now I have a bass on. You see, I immediately switched the way I was playing into a bassless kind of texture, right? Because there's a bass playing already with me, right? And it's not very different from what I was doing, but it is different, right? So what I did was like I eliminated the bass, right? I was playing the texture, on top of that bass. And what I did also is, since I don't have the obligation to play the bass, because there's another bass instrument playing the bass voice, right? Not my bass on the guitar. I kind of got freer, to play other things as well, right? So what other things I'm talking about? Well, I'm talking about playing, instead of, I'm eliminating one voice, one layer, right? Underneath the chords, which is the bass. But then I can add another one, which is another top voice that I can use. On this case, I was playing on this group of strings over here, like, strings 2, 3, and 4 in the middle, right? But now that I don't have the bass to play, I can add another one on the top string. So I can have two things now, dialoguing, right? Right? So I eliminated the bass and I added another layer, which is a top voice that I can comment on stuff. I can have it as part of the accompaniment as well, as I did. Or I can separate things, right? I can arpeggiate things. So there's many things I can do. But basically, we are in the premise that I'm just getting rid of the bass and then opening up another layer if I want to, right? To use as a comments, right? This kind of language, it gets closer to more of a jazz guitar kind of approach. That usually where the jazz guitar sits on the accompaniment side, not playing the bass, and then playing this kind of voicings, right? This kind of chord solutions, and it gets a little closer to the chord melody thing that we talk about all the time, which is using chords to harmonize and support a given melody, right? I'm not doing that much of that, but I'm doing some of that, right? Because I still want to be able to have independence, like the top voice I'm adding. I guess that's a different voice. Sometimes it works together with that middle voice that I'm playing now, or sometimes it's separate. Sometimes I am, making a melody over there and supporting that with the the chords underneath, right? And all without the bass, right? The bass is being covered by the bass. Also, one other thing is important is that although I'm not playing the bass, my sense of #voice leading is still here. I'm still really conscious on how the voices are moving, right? Let's not forget that. So this is one thing. This is one way of doing it. Get rid of the bass, play the chords, and open up a different voice if you want, right? Another thing that I use all the time is chords that, they kind of take life on their own. That's the best way to describe it, right? I'm kind of using them at will, and they are kind of free from their harmonic function, if you will, right? I'm not thinking of them inside a context. Okay, this is a minor 7 kind of voicing, and I'm going to use it in this minor 7 chord or whatever. Sometimes I'm just using bassless chords as a color, right? Like as a structure that I use to color things or to harmonize things, right? For instance, I can just think of a melody, right? Over this sequence, let's say, right? That, C, A7, T minor, G7, C, right? So I can do... it's still very tonal, right? I'm still kind of passing by all this harmony that is implied here, you see? But I can get free and use those structures as just colors that I want to apply. For instance, I can do... See, I was kind of free with that. So I don't know what key I am. I don't know. I'm just following a melodic idea, and I am coloring. I'm just painting that melody, that canvas that the melody that I created offers me with colors, right? So I'm not really worried about, oh, what kind of key I am, whatever, right? So I'm just applying these chords as color, as a structure. Like I like the color of this voicing, right? That I use all the time. I call it the adjacent fifth, right? Because not only this is just a minor 9 kind of voicing, a drop, whatever, right? But I'm also thinking of two fifth, right? I call it adjacent fifth because I have 2 intervals of fifth doing this, right? With a half step in between them. So I'm doing, right? And I can continue that thread. If I had the piano is clear, it's easy to do that stuff. I can do is that the other fifth? Is that here? And then I can take the other fifth and then keep like mounting fifth on top. It's hard to do on guitar. On the piano is easy to see that. But this voicing or this voicing is one of my favorite voices. This is a new version of that voice, right? These kind of voicings, I use them at will in contexts that sometimes get out of the harmonic progression, right? Either within a very clear harmonic canvas, like a song, right? Sometimes I put things in there that kind of deviate from that set harmony, but I'm just applying the color. For instance, when I play Stella by Starlight, for instance. It's all inside the harmony, right? Like when you get this chord here, G7, sharp 5, or flat 13. Right? Here, for instance, I use a chord at a time when I play that is not even, I don't think it's a chord, I think it's a structure, as a color, boom, that I put there. So you see me using the chord. So you see? Ooh, I just use this color here. So that chord doesn't really it has a major 7 if I would think in G, but I'm not thinking G. I guess that's my whole point, right? I forgot about G. I don't care if it's G or whatever. I care about that color that I want to juxtapose on that part, because I'm harmonizing that melody with a color, just a coloristic thing. So that's an example that I can use, in any situation like that. I can I will reharmonize things using these structures as color. I guess that's the sum up of what I'm trying to say, that you can use bassless chords, just kind of still within the progression that you are, right? Using the same framework. You just remove the bass and play a will without the bass, and then open up a different voice that you can, harmonize and comment and stuff like that. But it's to attach to that structure. Or I can use these colors at will, meaning I like a certain color of a voicing, like a bassless chord structure, and I use them to juxtapose whatever melodic content I feel that I should harmonize with, right? So by not taking into account any harmonic implications, only the color that chord structure is applying to that particular melody. I guess that's the point of the two approaches, right? So practice that. I would love to see what kind of solutions you guys come up with. If you have any other ways to not use the bass and how you use these chords, feel free to comment. Don't forget to comment in the video and suggest things. Let's keep that conversation open. Love to hear what you think. All right, before I go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the little bell thing notification. This is all my social media stuff. Don't forget to subscribe to the mailing list. and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.